4-color beans. 4-color beans is a more recent deck to the modern metagame. It is a control deck seeking to exploit the pitch elementals and a new 2-mana enchantment from Woe of Eldraine called Up the Beanstalk in order to deal with its opponent's threats and accrue cards to continue dealing with said threats and close out the game. Nathan, on a bit of an older archetype, if you can consider a 2-year-old archetype old, Temur Rhinos. This deck is looking to cascade into Crashing Footfalls, which is a essentially 0-mana sorcery that can't traditionally be cast, and it puts 2 4/4 Rhino tokens with trample into play. It's a tempo deck seeking to keep your opponent pressured and deal with their threats. So players have shuffled up and are looking at those opening hands. Alright, and both players are going to choose to keep. Nathan is going to start with a Sculling Tarn, passing the turn. I think we're not going to see too much action from players on these early turns. It's going to be a lot of setup. Most of Nathan's spells technically cost 3 mana, though many of them get around this through some interesting rules reasons. In particular, things like Fire Ice, Bone Crusher Giant, potentially Brazen Borrower, are all cards that technically have a converted mana cost of 3 or greater, but can be cast for less than that. Alright, so Nathan, on the end of Sam's turn, grabs a Temur Triome and is now going to shock in a Stomping Ground, and looks like Nathan's going to pass the turn. Sam, on end step, is going to crack that fetch, probably grab a Triome of his own. Ooh. Sam looking at the camera here. Let's see. What is Sam going to get here? Alright, that looks like an Indatha Triome, so that's going to add green, white, and black. Sam's going to shuffle them up. Let's see if Sam can get the turn 2 beans down. Sam's going to untap. Oh no! Going to get disrupted by an ice. It's going to tap down that Triome, and Nathan's going to draw a card. This provides a good stall tactic for the tempo deck to start cascading and attacking in, while preventing Sam from really establishing a board presence. So imagine we see fetch go from Sam. Yep, probably just going to take another turn to keep setting up that immaculate 4-color mana base. Nathan's going to play a Misty Rainforest here. Does not have a Shardless Agent, or else we probably would have seen a cascade into the first Crashing Footfalls. Sam's going to use that Flooded Strand to find a tapped Hollowed Fountain. He's going to draw a card here. Sam is still missing red mana, but this likely won't be an issue. No longer missing red mana with that Steam Vents. Coming in untapped, going to pay 3 mana for a Shardless Agent. So Sam is playing the Cascade version of this deck. So the Cascade version of the 4-color Beans deck is playing Shardless Agent and Bloodbraid Elf in an attempt to essentially cast extra copies of Up the Beanstalk. Up the Beanstalk being the only card in the deck that costs 2 mana or less. So Sam's going to be filtering through the top card of the library until he hits the Up the Beanstalk, and is going to get to cast that for free off of Cascade. Up the Beanstalk is going to enter the battlefield, draw Sam a card. All of those cards that were revealed go to the bottom of the library, by the way. So Up the Beanstalk will replace itself, and Sam's going to have a 2/2 here. On end step, Nathan is going to fetch. Could be hoping for Violent Outburst here in order to get those Rhinos into play. Seeing a Mutavault from Nathan while he's filtering through his deck. Interesting new piece of tech that Rhinos has obtained over the past couple sets is Flames of Anor. It's a modal spell from the Lord of the Rings set that can effectively get 2 modes if you have a wizard in play. So we are going to see the Violent Outburst here. So Nathan is also playing with the Cascade package of Violent Outburst and Shardless Agent, but instead of Up the Beanstalk, Nathan is going to be casting Crashing Footfalls. 2 4/4 Rhino tokens into play, and starting to pressure Sam here. That is currently a 2-turn clock, though Sam certainly has no shortage of answers for these Rhino tokens. Nathan's going to untap and draw for turn. Consider his options here. Could be seeing a Bone Crusher Giant on the 2/2. Nope, just going to move to attacks. Sam will not be blocking and drops to 8. No land drop from Nathan, just passing the turn. On upkeep, Nathan's going to use Ice to tap down the Endotha Triome, again limiting Sam's mana options, though at this point in the game, much less impactful. Sam will draw for turn. You can see a Teferi Time Raveler in hand. This is a very effective counter to Nathan's deck, as Teferi's static ability prevents spells from being cast at instant speed. This applies to Cascade triggers. It means that any spell that would be cast from Cascade is not permitted to be cast. So Sam's going to grab a basic Plains here, trying to conserve some life total. He's going to slam this Teferi down. Likely going to see the minus ability used here to deal with the token. But Nathan's going to respond by pitch casting Force of Negation. That's going to counter Teferi and send it to exile. Nathan's also going to cast Dead Gone on Sam's only blocker. Sam is facing down lethal here and is going to need a Solitude to get out of the situation, which we do see. So Nathan moves straight to attacks, attacking with both the Rhino tokens for lethal damage. Sam is going to respond with a Solitude pitching Teferi, drawing a card off of Up the Beanstalk. Nathan's going to have a chance to respond here. Nathan did pitch the Subtlety in hand, which could have been an effective response to Solitude, assuming that Sam does not draw an additional white card to recast it. It seems like Nathan's opted to keep a Murktide Regent, or may have drawn it for turn. Nathan is deep in the tank here. Don't think there's much of a response here. Looks like Nathan's got Violent Outburst, Bone Crusher Giant, and Murktide Regent in hand. So Solitude's going to deal with one of these tokens. Nathan's going to gain 4 life. And then Sam is going to take 4 from this Rhino down to 3. Alright, Nathan is going to play this Murktide Regent, I think for the full 8 counters, or the full 5 counters, so it's going to be an 8/8 Murktide Regent. 8/8 with flying here, maintaining Violent Outburst and Bone Crusher Giant in hand. Alright, Sam, on Sam's turn, play another Triome, play a Supreme Verdict. Sam goes down to 1 from Bone Crusher Giant. But Nathan does not have lethal damage this turn. Sam is going to untap at 1 life. Sam untaps and draws. Nathan just playing a land and passing. Sam plays this fetch land. Casts a Shardless Agent. Gonna get another up the beanstalk. Imagine Sam is probably digging here. Man, where is this beanstalk? There it is. Alright, so Nathan's going to respond to the beanstalk, casting with Violent Outburst. He's going to look through Sam's exile pile, likely trying to inform some sideboarding decisions. Alright, so we see the Cascade resolve. Much less dig here, with the Crashing Footfalls conveniently on top. Nathan's going to get 2 more Rhinos. Sam's going to draw a card from the beanstalk. Alright, we see a Murderous Cut. Deal with one of the tokens. This is also going to draw a card. This is going to draw 2 cards from the beanstalk because it is a 5 CMC spell despite being cast for only 1 mana with Delve. Does Sam have the white card? Yes, with the Omnath they do. So with two up the beanstalks on the battlefield, it looks like Sam does have a good chance to stabilize here. Gonna cast a Leyline Binding to draw 2 cards and deal with that last Rhino. I believe Nathan is now empty-handed as well. And we know that Sam has Omnath, Fire Ice, some lands. When Omnath hits the battlefield, it's going to be able to gain Sam some life. Alright, Nathan draws for turn. Opts to cast the Bone Crusher Giant from the Adventure Exile. Passes the turn. Sam draws up to what looks like a full 7. Plays Omnath. Yep, and Nathan scoops it up. Well, that was quite the swing. Nathan seemed to have the game locked up pretty well, but just couldn't find that last single point of damage. Both players are going to move to sideboarding. It's an excellent showing for the Beans deck. We're really seeing the strength of Up the Beanstalk in combination with these pitch elementals, as well as Leyline Binding. Sam was able to really get back in that game through good consistency with being able to find the Beanstalk off of those Cascaders, as well as smart use of pitch elementals. Nathan on Rhino is also putting up an excellent fight, showcasing the strength of the deck, being able to lay down an incredibly quick clock. Those 2 4/4s are no joke. And that Shardless Agent really couldn't block effectively thanks to Trample. We're on 5 tonight, right? 5 rounds?
Yeah, we're on 5.
Okay.
There we go. Make us nice and pretty. Oh, holy shit.
Nice, that looks good.
That changes so much.
Yeah, it goes from looking like dingy basement to
slightly less dingy basement.
Yeah.
Still sighting.
Yes, yeah. Still sideboarding. I think it's a pretty exciting weekend for Magic. We've got locals here tonight, but I think in the Florida region, we have 4 RCQs this weekend. I personally will be going to my first ever RCQ tomorrow. I've never played in anything more competitive than Friday Night Magic, and I'm very excited. I think it's a more competitive environment, but it sounds like it's still a friendly one. People are excited to play some more serious games, show off their skills and hone them as well. All right, both players are shuffling up and drawing their opening hands for Game 2. Once again, we've got Nathan Sahai on Temur Rhinos and Sam Alexander on 4-color beans. Sam managed to take Game 1, coming back from a situation with only 1 life. We'll see if Sam can tie it up in 2 or if Nathan's going to force a Game 3. It's like Nathan is happy with the opening hand. Sam, I think, taking a mulligan here. He's going to keep 6, putting a card back. I'll start with Nathan. He's going to lead on Misty Rainforest. Fetching for what I imagine likely a breeding pool. He's going to immediately suspend a Crashing Footfalls. So this is the way the spell is technically supposed to be cast, is that you pay 1 green and you pay for its suspend cost, which is you exile it with 4 time counters. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove a time counter. If the card no longer has counters on it, or suspend counters actually, not time counters. Once it has no counters on it, you may cast it from exile without paying for its mana cost. So having started with 1 in his opening hand, he's just going to suspend it. So Sam plays a tapped Triome. Nathan's going to untap, and Island Cycle is Lorien Revealed to find a land in the deck with the island type. It's going to be a Ketria Triome, which will enter the battlefield tapped. Sam's going to follow that up with a fetch, likely a shock, into Up the Beanstalk. Which will immediately replace itself. Or not, as Nathan's going to Force of Negation, pitching Flame of Anor, countering that Beanstalk. Up the Beanstalk is really not a card you want hitting the battlefield as a tempo deck. As a Murktide player, my wisdom I've obtained from watching Andrea Mengucci is counter at all costs. So it looks like both players are stuck on lands here. So we see an end of turn Bone Crusher into another missed land drop from Nathan. They pass back and forth. Crashing Footfalls is put on the stack and is countered by Force of Negation from Sam. Nathan finally hits the 3rd land, though it is likely not the land you wanted to see. It's a Gemstone Cavern. Much better in the opening hand than the than a draw. We'll be able to follow that up with a Violent Outburst. Unsurprisingly, Outburst is inevitably going to hit the Crashing Footfalls, though we do get a chance to see some sideboard choices from Nathan. I think we've seen both Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon as a way to deal with this very greedy 5-color mana base that Sam is representing. Also seeing Commandeer. Alright, so we'll finally see the third land from Sam as well. Sam mulls over what to do about these Rhinos. Much like last game, these Rhinos are representing a 2-turn clock. Alright, Nathan draws a 4th land, Steam Vents. Gonna shock that in. Gonna go to combat and attack for 8 with the Rhinos. Sam's gonna opt to take it. Fetches down to 6 at the end of Nathan's turn. I think that's a Questing Beast in Nathan's hand. Very smartly saving it in the event of a board wipe, as I believe the Questing Beast has haste. So Sam's going to grab a Triome here. Going to untap and draw for turn. Draws basic planes, plays it. Slams the Supreme Verdict. Alright, so Nathan plays a Wooded Foothills. Casts the Bone Crusher Giant. Likely hoping to get in for lethal with the Giant and the Questing Beast on his next turn. Though looking at Sam's hand, they have plenty of answers for that. Alright, so Sam's just going to opt to pass here. Seeing the fetch, going to go for Murderous Cut on the Bone Crusher Giant. That's going to trigger Bone Crusher Giant's ability and deal 2 damage to Sam. But Nathan will not be contesting the Murderous Cut. This Questing Beast is still lethal. Alright, Nathan grabs the basic forest here off of that fetch. Plays another land. Goes for the Questing Beast. You might want to pull this one up. So Questing Beast is a 4/4 for 2 and 2 green. I think it has haste. I know it has haste. I think it has trample. It does not. It has Vigilant and Death Touch. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. And whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much to target planeswalker that player controls. It has been seeing a resurgence in play lately because it is an effective counter to the protection from everything given by the One Ring. Although, the One Ring itself, being a very powerful 4-mana card advantage engine, has fallen off lately due to the popularity of Up the Beanstalk. Which Sam is finally going to get into play. Nathan does not have the blue card for Force of Negation. Beans is here to stay. Alright, so Nathan's going to go with a Force of Vigor. Going to deal with that up the Beanstalk. But drew a Force of Negation for turn, so isn't going to be able to establish any additional pressure. Sam's going to respond with Force of Negation. It's going to fetch out a Rogran Triumph on the end of Nathan's turn. It's going to untap. Play land and pass. I believe Sam's last card is Solitude. That is going to be quite helpful against any further threat that Nathan attempts to establish. And it'll draw a card off Beanstalk. At this point in the game, Sam is going to be able to hardcast the Pitch Elementals and use these as threats to close out the game. With Up the Beanstalk, these threats will be able to draw additional cards to keep Sam's engine and control of the game going. Alright, so here we see Flames of Enor from Nathan. Gonna draw 2 cards. Finds the Mutavault, which will be able to power up the next one. Because Mutavault has all creature types, it is able to allow Nathan to choose 2 modes on Flame of Enor. Of 3, those 3 being deal 5 damage to a creature or... Nope, just creature. Destroy target artifact, or draw 2 cards. So Nathan finds a Bone Crusher and sticks Sam to 1. Puts the Bone Crusher into play, and it is immediately exiled by a Solitude. Once again, Sam is at 1. Plays the One Ring. The One Ring gets countered by Force of Negation. Sam attacks with the Solitude. Because the Solitude has lifelink, Sam is insulated from an attack from this Mutavault. Nathan is going to come in with a Mutavault for 2, knocking Sam down to 2. Casts a Fury to deal with this Solitude. Sam's going to respond with a Leyline Binding, exiling the Fury and drawing a card. Fury's going to be put into the exiles. Under Leyline Binding, Solitude's going to die to the Fury trigger. And then Sam is going to untap. Sam's cards are a Teferi and a Commandeer. Looks like Nathan is called a judge. Maybe not. Could just be communicating with a friend. Commandeer is a very interesting card. It is a much older free spell than is currently populating Modern at the moment. I think it is 5 and 2 blue. It can be cast, it's an instant. It can be cast by exiling 2 blue cards from your hand, or discarding 2 blue cards, I'm not sure. I believe it allows you to take control of target's spell. Oh, it's a $20 card. Gain control of target non-creature spell. Close. Alright, we're going to see Teferi. So we'll prevent any further Rhino shenanigans. Teferi's going to minus, bouncing up the beanstalk. Drawing Sam a card. Sam's going to be able to recast the up the beanstalk to draw an additional card. I am not sure what this card is. I think it's a Nissa? I think it's the Nissa that finds elementals. I think. Sam's gonna fetch down to 1. Alright, plays. Yeah, it is. It is. So I think it's something along the lines of it has landfall. If you make a certain amount of land drops in a turn, you can reveal the top card of your library until you hit an elemental or an elf. I don't think the deck plays any other elves than Nissa, so I'm trying to find a pitch elemental there. Did not find it, and is going to end up dying to the Mutavault. So we are going to move on to game 3, I believe. Wait, no, unless that was, because Nissa blocks the Mutavault. I think that might have just been... Yeah, that was it. I called it wrong. I think Nissa's a 3/3 and is going to be able